So it's been about 6 months now since the release of Mass Effect Andromeda, and at this point I think it's safe to declare the game a commercial and critical failure. EA has announced that there will be no forthcoming DLC, and it looks like the series is on ice, at least for now. Personally, I didn't think the game was that bad, and I enjoyed most of the time I've spent with it, including the 20 or so hours I've put into the multiplayer mode. So why exactly did Andromeda fall flat for so many people? Lots of YouTubers and game critics have offered their own explanations, oftentimes focusing on the dialogue, the poor animations, or supposedly flat characters. But I think that Andromeda's failure to grab the interest of gamers has less to do with those issues, and more to do with the new development team simply failing to understand what, in my opinion, were the two most important aspects of why the original Mass Effect games were so beloved. So here are the two main reasons that I don't care about Andromeda. The first reason you don't care is that Mass Effect Andromeda takes place in a fictional world that's significantly less compelling than the game world on display in the original Mass Effects. Specifically, Andromeda has far less interesting set of alien species and cultures for the player to interact with. To see what I mean, let's take a quick look at how the original Mass Effect introduces the player to a wide variety of distinct and memorable species and cultures not long after the beginning of the game. After the initial tutorial mission on Eden Prime, the player is dumped straight onto the Citadel and immediately immersed in an environment that's filled to the brim with unique and compelling aliens. Not only do you meet potential squadmate aliens like Rex and Garrus, but you can also speak to other Citadel species like the Hanar or the Elcor, which their distinctly non-human features and cultures.
Hello there, human. Sincere apology, but I am here on business and cannot be distracted right now.
You seem distressed. Is there something I can do to help?
Alarmed response. You overheard that, did you? This is all going so wrong, and it is the Asari consort's fault. She's the one who started all this.
What did this Asari do to get you so upset?
I cannot speak more about this problem. It is too sensitive. Suffice it to say, she has compromised my authority as a diplomat.
Now, it's true that the conversations you can have with some of these alien characters can be a bit stilted and unnatural, and some of the alien responses do resemble info dumps, but the point is that these aliens are instantly memorable and very compelling. After a single interaction with the Hanar proselytizer on the Citadel, the player's always going to remember the Hanar as the religious jellyfish people. So, Mass Effect 1 throws a lot at the player during this initial Citadel section, and it can be overwhelming, but meeting all these unique aliens also gives you a sense of the scale and variety of the game world. All these fascinating characters and cultures that you meet makes the game world feel more alive and starts creating an emotional attachment to the game world within the player. Later in the game, when Shepard is staring down Sovereign for the first time or trying to defend the Citadel, you feel more emotionally invested in the stakes of the conflict precisely because the game went out of its way to show you just what a fascinating place the Milky Way actually is. On the other hand, Mass Effect Andromeda does a poor job of generating emotional investment regarding the fate of the Helios cluster and its inhabitants. The biggest problem is that the only new ally species that you meet, the Angara, doesn't have any strange or compelling aspects of their society that makes the player want to learn more about them. Sure, they're described as living in big families and wearing their emotions on their sleeves a lot, but that's basically just like many modern-day 21st century humans. They're not fascinating in the same way that the Hanar or the Elcor are fascinating. The first few that you meet just aren't that memorable or compelling characters. They just feel like talking heads handing out quests.
Trade? Trade. Trade.
Are you asking or telling?
I'm wondering, do you exchange goods and services? How does your economy work?
We have credits, but little to spend them on.
Think you might spend them here? Could be. What are your credits worth? What can we do with them?
You pay them to us for whatever we're selling.
Well, now we cut open the heart. And what do you offer?
I don't know. What do you want?
Your ship?
Not for sale.
Worth a try.
Is there something else I can do for you?
Yes. Call me Soka. I run cargo between Aya and other worlds. Good work. Good at it. You're here to help my people. Prove it. I need help. One of my suppliers off-world stopped checking in. Has things I need. There could be trouble.
What makes you think I can help?
You found Aya, maybe you found my supplier. Can't hurt to ask.
You're one of few people here willing to give me a chance. I'll take it.
You have a ship? I have my supplier's nav point. His name is Kolo. Find him, his supplies. Come back and prove you're helpful. Then maybe we trade.
Now sure, you also meet members of other Milky Way species like the Turians and the Asari on the Nexus, and some of them are decently interesting characters. But for established Mass Effect fans, there's not much that is particularly exciting about meeting yet another Asari or another Turian, especially when they all use the same 3D model, which is awful, by the way. Andromeda should have been an opportunity for players to re-experience that thrilling Mass Effect 1 feeling of setting foot into a big new galaxy full of unique and compelling species and characters, but instead it hands us one bland new species and a bunch of relatively bland members of species that we met before in the original trilogy. None of the new characters or cultures make you sit up back and say, "Wow!" And because of that, you just don't get as invested in the fate of the game world that you're expected to be saving. The second reason that I don't care about Andromeda has to do with the way the character development and interaction is handled. Now, to be clear, I actually think that the characters themselves are reasonably well fleshed out and aren't really any less interesting than your Mass Effect 1 squad mates. They have hopes and fears and dreams, and to me they don't feel one-dimensional. With the exception of Drac, who basically just seems like a reskin of Rex, most of the Milky Way species characters are different enough from their racial counterparts from Mass Effect 1 to 3 that they do stand out as compelling characters on their own merits. You know, if you compare PB and Vetra to Liara and Garrus, for example. So, unlike a lot of players, I actually do like these new characters. That isn't the problem I'm talking about. The problem is that you never have to worry about the fate of these characters. The problem is that you never encounter a moment like this.
It appears the Geth have sent reinforcements.
Heads up, LT. We just spotted the troop ship headed to your location.
It's already here. There's Geth pouring out all over the bomb site.
Can you hold them off?
There's too many. I don't think we can survive until you get here. I'm activating the bomb.
Alenka, what are you doing?
I'm just making sure this bomb goes off, no matter what. It's done, Commander. Go get Williams and get the hell out of here.
Screw that! We can handle ourselves. Go back and get Alenko.
Williams, radio Joker and tell him to meet us on the AA tower.
Yes, Commander,
It's the right choice, and you know it, Ash.
I'm sorry, Caden. I had to make a choice.
I understand, Commander. I don't regret a thing.
That moment on Vermeer is the moment in which the Mass Effect series went from being good to truly being great. That's the moment in which you realize that the characters that you've come to know and love won't all have happy endings, and once you realize that your squad mates can die, and that your own choices can kill them, you start to care about them even more. After Vermeer, the looming threat of getting one of my friends killed made the rest of the trilogy far more compelling for me. It's part of why the Mass Effect story works so well in an interactive medium like a game, rather than as a book or as a film. Vermeer made me cherish the rest of these moments that I got to spend with these characters because I knew that any of them could be suddenly gone, and perhaps even because I made a mistake. Now, other games have relied on these sorts of mechanics before, of course, but no other game I've played has tied the mechanics of character fate to good writing and storytelling in such a uniquely compelling way. Andromeda, on the other hand, it set me up to expect that the fates of major characters were going to be resting upon my decisions throughout the story, but this turned out to really just be a bait and switch. In reality, none of the major characters are ever threatened. I kept waiting for that Vermeer moment during my playthrough, but it never came. There was this moment at the end of PB's loyalty mission where I was expecting my actions to have significant consequences, but then this happens.
Shit. Go! I'm good.
PB, help! I'll give you everything I've got. All the relics, everything worth anything. Please, I don't want to die.
Oh, crap.
Oh, crap, what?
I don't want her to die, Ryder.
About the device.
It's not worth her life. Wow, that was close.
Time to go, huh?
PB, thank you. Listen, no heart.
Oh, fuck! Finally beat you to the punch.
I've got 2 shuttles waiting. Follow me.
And everybody's fine, nobody's mad at me. This was the moment at which I realized that Andromeda was going to pull its punches. No matter what I did, Andromeda didn't punish or reward me for my decisions in any meaningful way. It's not possible to have squad mates leave like it is in Dragon Age. It's not possible to have squad mates die. It's not even possible to actually fail loyalty missions or lose a squad mate's loyalty like it was in Mass Effect 2. No matter what I did, everything was always going to turn out fine. In the end, only a couple side characters that I really didn't care about actually had their fates impacted by my choices. So once I realized that I didn't really have to worry about my squad mates surviving or liking my Ryder character, I kind of stopped caring that much about what happened or the choices that my Ryder made. So overall, I don't care about Andromeda because the less than vibrant game world and the lack of character drama means that I just don't care about the outcome of my choices as the Pathfinder the way that I really cared about the outcome of my choices as Shepard. So now, I realize that Andromeda was mostly written by an entirely new team at BioWare Montreal, but it's pretty surprising that they managed to misunderstand so badly just what it was that made the original Mass Effect so compelling. They should have known, if you want to make a game that's all about the characters and choices, you have to make those characters and choices actually matter to the player. And if you don't, well, that's how Mass Effect Andromeda failed. And that's really all I have to say about that.